Do you ever feel like you have no control over your own path? The things have been set out for you and you just have to swallow it. We have to live with this fear that forces beyond our control are going to shape us into something that we don't want to become. The idea that we aren't in control of our own destiny and that resistance is futile. This often coincides with the nature-nurture discussion. Are we shaped more by what we're born as, or by the circumstances of which we're born into? Which one is truly king? Unfortunately, this answer remains disputed even now. What it is safe to say is that they're two hands of the same sculptor, the sculptor of our very beings. Mark Grayson, better known as Invincible, is such a good example of how smothering these sculpting hands can be, and how impossible it feels to try and resist these grand and often predetermined forces. But he's also a good example of how persistence, support, and strength of will can in fact allow you to reject these factors. He's a walking battle between the ideas of determinism and free will. On one hand, we have his dominating Viltrumite DNA inherited from Omni-Man, his father, the blood of galactic fascist conquerors who thrive on war and power, the nature of a destroyer. On the other hand, we have his human upbringing from his mother, learned empathy and morality, nurtured to always fight for what is right, and to defend those in their time of need. The challenges in Mark's battle begun with the initial betrayal of his father, and the realization of the truth of his Viltrumite DNA. The fact his father could feign goodness, and even save countless humans while concealing the deep-seated desire to enslave all of them, the devaluation of all heroic actions, this idea that heroism speaks nothing of your character, and even the greatest hero could be the most wicked villain. The blood pumping through Mark's veins was that of a murderous abuser, someone who could gaslight his family for 20 plus years and let the mask drop in a single day like it was nothing. The idea that no matter how many you save, how hard you fight, how much you put yourself on the line for everyone else, it all has the potential to mean nothing. Mark put so much value in heroism and in doing what is right. So to have that deconstructed right before his eyes, as well as to witness someone you revered, you loved, treat that same belief you thought you shared like garbage, it's safe to say Mark's mental state was beyond destroyed, and he has a very rocky path up ahead to rebuild it. This whole event left Mark feeling out of control, now pushed deeply into this idea of determinism, and therefore leaving him with the burning desire to reject that fact, to reject the idea that he will become anything like that man. Mark's blue suit was adorned during the deepest stage of his despair and rage, representing one of the darkest times in his hero career. His desire to reject Omni-Man captured in physical form, his colours directly opposing Nolan's signature red and white design. The black and blue is a symbol that his entire identity has been committed to opposing his father, and as such, he is entirely consumed by burning hatred and fear that he is destined to become what Omni-Man is. His insatiable desire for control over his own life reflecting across to those around him, pushing him further into the role of dictator and away from the role of protector. It was during this time that he was pushed towards his emotional breaking point, the flexibility of his morals tested to the max. His relationship with extreme violence became far closer, heading to the point where he even debated killing people that he judged were irredeemable. That was the line between himself and his nature. The role of Viltrumite is judge, jury, and executioner. Those who are unworthy, those who can't be reformed, they must be destroyed before they can cause any more damage. This idea that he is so immensely powerful that he can play God, that as the righteous hero, he has the right to make that judgment call and strike down anyone in his path. Every other Mark in every other reality crossed that line. So what's to stop this one from doing the same? Every step and every decision Mark makes at this stage is going to make him doubt how close he is to that line. And if in the emotion and anger of it all, he'll unconsciously take that step beyond a point of no return. This is the terror of determinism. The idea that you're barreling towards an outcome that defies your thoughts, dreams and intentions. The fact that relatives you didn't even choose set your destiny in stone. Do you ever do something and afterwards think to yourself that you were just like them? That person who you subconsciously reject, but deep down fear that your relation destines you to become what they are. Maybe it's an outburst. Maybe one night you have one too many. Maybe it's being more distant than you intend to be. This downhill spiral ties into the idea of self-fulfilling prophecy. You get this idea in your head that through relation or circumstance, you are bound to become the person you reject most. This fear can make you overly conscious about your behaviour, making you feel irritable, reserved, or too scared to get close with others. And therefore people distance themselves, walk on eggshells around you, or try to exclude you from things. And with that you have your confirmation. The uneasy response from others validates the initial concern about yourself. Our actions affect others' beliefs. Others' beliefs affect their own actions. Their actions affect our beliefs, and our beliefs then affect our own actions. This constant chipping away can break down your will, your desire to fight, and as such, the cycle is fueled. You no longer have that strength to fight back, or to take those awkward or challenging steps to become better, once again leaving you with this looming sense of defeat. But this character is called Invincible. I don't believe it's just because he has super strength or durability, but because no matter how much the universe weighs down upon him, and how much the adversity of the Viltrumite curse torments him, his will never shatters, because he will always have free will. It's for this reason that the return of the yellow suit was so significant. The warmth of the yellow acting as a restoration of Mark's humanity, his own original colour shining through over his anger and destructive influence, a colour that defined Invincible as a hero for good. This yellow marks his independent self that has control over his own life, that his decisions are made by himself, for himself. Even the people he allows to influence these decisions and the people he seeks guidance from are all chosen by himself. This is the meaning of free will, the human side that will always rest within Mark, not from just his upbringing, but from his own lived experience as an individual. What it really boils down to is not just a simple battle between determinism and free will, but a battle between slavery and freedom. Omni-Man represents being a slave to your duty and your heritage, the idea that it's just the way things are, and no matter the cost of your happiness or freedoms or morals, that is just the way you must live and there's no going against the grain. There's no point in being moral or trying to be better, because that is not your destiny. Nolan only truly changed when he was given a taste of freedom, the concept of true humanity. The idea that your actions, good and bad, alter the course of everyone's lives. Heroic deeds, kind words, empathy all make positive change in the same way that destruction, violence and death also twist the narrative. The person to give both him and Mark this grounding was Debbie. She is a moral anchor for Mark, keeping him closely connected with his humanity and empathy he's known all his life, ensuring that he doesn't lose this as his powers flourish. It's easy to tell where Mark got his indomitable nature from. We've already spoken about how Mark has struggled to resist the direction his life's been forced to take, doing so through heroism and direct physical resistance of the Viltrumite threat. Given that, how much do we think Debbie has struggled, living the same tormented life with no powers to resist, no close friends who have suffered as she has? She's had to rebuild her life virtually by herself, and yet she continues to succeed. She is arguably just as strong as any character in the show. She has time and time again been able to cage literal world-level threats through sheer emotional intelligence and good ethic. She gives Mark the right tools to carve his own path, reassuring him that he has the right outlook to succeed. And that is what keeps Mark behind the line of human and Viltrumite. It's his Viltrumite DNA, they are his powers, and it's his choice to put on that suit and save those people and fight against all odds. People persistently ridicule Invincible for constantly being defeated in battle, especially ones where the odds are blatantly against him, but the real defeat would be enslaving himself to the idea that the outcome of the battle is decided before it starts. Part of overcoming your nature is learning to understand it, and the realization that it is your nature, not anybody else's. You have to fight fire with fire. The only equal force to nature is nurture. Understanding how someone's innate self was manipulated during their lifetime to create the person that they are. Mark's journey was understanding that maybe Viltrumites were never destined for evil at all, but it was instead the generations of totalitarian conditioning and generational trauma that has plasticized that nature into something terrible. Mark has to believe that his father and other Viltrumites can be destined for good, that they have room to change for the better, because if he doesn't, that would also be suggesting that despite his best efforts, he's destined for villainy as well. Trauma keeps people enslaved. The fear of repetition is a brick wall between a person and change. To be able to make change, you need to mentally walk out into a space you've never walked before, or even to a place that hurt you the last time you stepped there. That fear can sometimes extend to others. If it's too dangerous for you out there, how could you possibly send your own child? One generation to the next, caged as slaves to their own unresolved issues. That is until one finally decides to make that move. Whether those behind them follow or not, whether those behind them would resent them or not, through great effort pulling away from the countless hands that want to keep them right in line where they are. Trauma is a dagger. The real question is, will you use it to hold the next generation hostage, or will you use it to cut the rope and set them free? That's who Mark Grayson is, the person who through great effort and love and compassion intends on breaking free of that curse, discarding the idea that his role in the universe can be decided by anyone else but himself. By no stretch is he perfect. He has made mistakes, he has known defeat, he has caused damage in the lives of countless people, but that's what makes Mark human. He doesn't have a concrete belief system, and his countless emotional experiences as a young adult are frequently manipulating his outlook on life and its sanctity. But all of this is just fluctuations on the road to his ultimate goal, and that is to be a hero. No matter what winds his path takes, he has a destination that he will always try and walk towards, no matter how many times he has to cut through the thorns or go back the way he came. Truly what they call the indomitable human spirit. It's not Mark's powers that redeem him from the brink. It's his drive for goodness, an ability to take action to be better. What I'm getting at is you don't need to fly or stop the destruction of the earth to be good. And you don't need to have your relationships and beliefs in order, just as long as the place you're trying to get to is a place where you're a kind and empathetic person. Your path is not decided by who you were born to, or in what ways life tries to influence you. You are defined by whether you allow these circumstances to divert you from your path towards being a better person. You'll be presented with many reasons in life to give up that journey, but it's important to know that you will meet people that will hand you the right tools to get through the tough spot that you're in. I hope this video makes sense. I got this together a lot quicker than I usually would. I was just kind of spewing my thoughts onto the page without really going back over it. But I felt pretty sure as I was going. The reality of Mark and Nolan's relationship, I imagine, speaks to a lot of people about how hard it can be to turn your back on someone like that, even if they've caused so much damage in your life, because you know that they can change, and that you want them to change for everyone's benefit. The hardest part about understanding generational trauma is the realization that the person who passed it on to you is just another person who didn't make it out of that trench. And it's even harder to think that the person they could have been if they ever did make it out. Some of you watching this now may be trying your hardest to break that curse. And if you are, then I have a very high level of respect for you, and I hope that you succeed. Generations beyond your sight will benefit from your hard work. Your life is not decided for you. Your hands are on the wheel now. But there's nothing wrong with letting the right person take the wheel when you don't know where to turn. If you find the right balance, you'll be